G'day, legends. Welcome to the Pot Noodle on Celtic Down Under. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me tonight is Shane. Liam might be here later on. He's having some internet issues over in Japan, which is justifiable, all things considered, with the weather they've had over there recently. But yeah, until then, we'll see what happens. But how you been, Shane?
Yeah, all right, mate. Not too bad. Just plodding along, getting by. I think that's probably the best way to put it.
This time of the year, it's always a little crazy.
Mm.
Yeah, so yeah, bit of an interesting one. I think you can all pretty much tell from the episode title how I'm feeling at the moment. Um, with what's going on, it's it's just not good enough. What are we doing here? But yeah, it sums it up as that. There you go with the tactics board. It's Pish, and this is episode 485. I think it is, if my memory's right from what I checked before, Shane. And I have not used that as an episode title. How easy. That shows where I'm at in terms of this season. Not happy about it at all. We're going to get into it a bit later on, in particular, like the depths of what's happening and everything like that. But just after this morning for us as a result, yesterday over in Scotland's result, just a general vibe check. Like, how are you feeling about this about the team at the moment?
Flat. Uh, just there are other words. I'm sure there are other words other than flat. If my brain would kick into gear.
There's other
Disappointed.
words, Shane. You just can't use them in the first 5 minutes, right?
Well, that's true. Yeah, we can't go there just yet. They put the timer on. Flat, disjointed, frustrated, dismayed. Anything you want to put in front of it that doesn't have a swear word, I guess. Just really, just flat, and it's hard to get out of that malaise at the moment. Watching this team and everything that's unfolding, not just on the pitch at the moment, but also what has transpired off the pitch and all of that has led up until this point. It's you can't help but just look on in despair and frustration, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just, as you said, it's flat, it's hard, it's it's frustrating, to be honest with you. Like, I'm and we'll get into it. We'll mix up the run sheet order a little bit that I had, and then we'll get into the game, right? So, like, what I'm looking at the moment is I'm struggling to find the likability of this team and the relate to them. Like, um, yeah, the way I look at it was in previous seasons, we always had that thing where, oh, this team is really awesome. There's like under Ange, every player in the team was likable, right? Under Brendan, players were likable. Even Scales has his moments. Even guys like Greg Taylor had his moments. People that fans pile on, but at the same time, you just look at it and be like, "Yep, I get it." But this team, there's just a lack of connection between the playing group and the manager, the playing group and the fans, and the overall likability of the squad and the team in general is tough. Like, honestly, this is probably going back to the COVID season. This is the least I've liked the Celtic team in terms of the performances and the individual players at the moment. And yeah, I just think it's a little bit weird.
I probably haven't. I must admit, I probably haven't thought about it or gotten to that particular level. But just with everything that we've gone through this season, from the initial part of what happened with Brendan and all of that with the board, and obviously the previous decisions from the board a lot longer prior to that, then the return of Martin O'Neill and that kind of boost that everyone got, both as a fan base for those on the pitch, but also from the results as well. That if that was two steps forward, this recent introduction of Nancy and
Sweet.
what we're doing now. it's like 5 steps back.
They say a week's a long time in football, Shane, and definitely is that way. But how I was getting into is one of the talking points I wanted to finish off the pod with, but we'll get into it now. Is like I actually had from watching the game on TV because that's how we watch it over here. The thing I'm noticing is I wanted to ask and get the comments section going as well is the lack of the Green Brigade in the stadium leading to a much bigger malaise from fans at games because you're seeing people like there's people I know who never leave early who are leaving in after 80 minutes at the cup final. You've got guys who are leaving after 60 and other games. You've got fans just aren't coming. Some of the Irish supporters aren't coming over. There's not as many buses in the car park I'm hearing. So is the Green Brigade a factor? Was there a bigger malaise from the fan group because or was it an extended thing? Like for me, across the world, it's an extended fan base issue because, as I said, like, and this is what I wrote personally, I don't feel the same level of connection to this Celtic team that I've had in seasons gone past, like the last 4 or 5 years. And I just want to get your thoughts, Shane. What do you think?
I think the lack of Green Brigade, and the way that they've been treated is having an impact. But I think overall, the general malaise, as you put it, extends just beyond sort of the Green Brigade not being there. This extends back to a growing frustration that I think we've talked about over many seasons now of decisions and lack of investment and so forth. And then obviously what we're seeing around the protests and then the fan media decisions being made, and that is what is contributing to this general malaise. Then on top of that, you have the performance of the team on the pitch as well. All of that combined leads to where we're at. And you obviously talk about that lack of connection to a team, right? Well, it's you're struggling for that lack of connection to the team, and obviously you're watching it from over here, but you're right. There's people over there that would normally get up very, very early in the morning in Dublin, get across, make their way across the waters just to get to paradise. That's a big commitment if if you're really struggling to connect with the team. That's a very difficult thing to do.
I'm just going to rattle off a few things that I've heard, and I don't know how true these are. This is just random things in different group chats. There's CSC buses from places like Swindon, Bristol, Wimbledon, East London. There's one I can't remember the name where they're based. Whole bunch of these ones down in the low end of England who also drive up, and they used to have buses. Of get a mini bus with like 15 people, 20 people, and have the bus come up. And what I've heard from certain people involved in certain clubs, CSCs, is they're struggling to have half the numbers that they had at the start of the season on these buses already. And if you had a bus and you budgeted, okay, we're going to have 15 people to head up every game. So we need a minimum of 10 people to make, or 8 or 9 people to make it worthwhile to hire the bus and do it. Suddenly it's not affordable. So then even less people want to go. And it's just that vicious cycle. So I'm hearing that side of it as well. So it's the Irish fans aren't coming. People from other CSCs a little bit further away in England and in Ireland, obviously. There's ones down across in I know a couple of Celtic fans in Germany and Holland who travel over for games. They're not coming over. They've stopped. So yeah, I just think it's as you said, Shane, it's just an overall everything there that all ties in. But you got to look at it and separate it into multiple parts. So we've spoken about the recruitment issues to death, right, already, and the board issues. We all know what that is. We all know Martin came in, and I don't think. Okay, I think we picked up wins in some games that we probably shouldn't have under Martin, but at the same time, the playing group, it seemed like the way Brendan had him playing, which was a complicated horseshoe of death, and the way Nuncey's trying to get them to play, which is God knows what they're trying to do at the moment. Under Martin, it was simplified, and players and their natural abilities come to the fore. And I'm saying it's like if we went straight from Brendan to Nuncey, different story. But that step in the middle there for Martin to then go back to this rubbish that we're seeing at the moment, you look at it and go, well, what's happening here? Are we look? We went down. We were shit. We had a little peak there. And now we just dipped back down to where we were earlier in the season, if not worse, because we've got injury problems now that we've got even lesser players there. Like the guys who should be on our bench making it stronger are starting, quite a few of them. So then that's making more issues again. So yeah, it's just an overall shambles. But what we'll do is, since we're well and truly past the safe zone in the comment for the language, I'll get some comments going. Then we'll get into the game, and then we'll just come back to it. So McLaughlin's saying Holders Club's a disaster, 100%. RL77, I think I'll move back to Australia to escape this pish. You know we love you down under, mate. Michael's hail, hail, my fellow disgruntled Celts. That's the best way to sum us all up. And then Michael's followed up with self-sabotage from shitebag players. We'll get into the players a little bit later. Heavy vibes. Hail, hail, everyone. Think we can agree that this is going to be another COVID season. And I'm going to get into this one here from Michael. So, knew after the summer window and the Kyrat game that this season would be a disaster. I'm actually going to bring up something off the back of that, right? Because I actually got this from a WhatsApp. I'll just grab it on my phone actually, so it's a bit easier to read because I don't give away where it comes from. I just realised I want to bring that up on the screen. But the thing is, like, if you have a look at this season so far, it's not just the Kyrat game. There's a transfer window, but there was the Rangers away 3-0 result. There was the Scottish Cup final at the end of last season. There's the Kyrat result. There was Hearts, Dundee away, Midtjylland, St Mirren away. Then we have the last couple of games as well from this week. The 3 games this week, just gone. And then there was a couple of other games that people were talking about as well. And I'm just like, it's just not been, it's not just a one-off.
Well, I mean, you can add to that the first Glasgow derby of the season, which finished in a 0-0 draw, which was one of the worst games up until that point I'd seen us play. We were awful that day.
Yep, 100%. So heavy vibes. Yeah, I was hoping we could turn the season around, but after yesterday, I think we're fucked.
We're well and truly past the 5 minutes now.
Yeah, that's why I was holding off, because that came into it. Seriously, Shane, that comment was already in there waiting before we even went live. And then John Cairns, we're fucked. I think that sums it up. RL77, what's French for pish? And then Michael Ross sums it up. Le pish. Robert Gibson, I'm very pleased with the downward spiral. Robert, I'm going to say it for you. With the shite bags that we got on the wing at the moment, can we recall Palmer in January?
Your move, Robert.
I'm baiting you, mate. Here we go. RL77, there's not one single thing positive about Celtic just now, and it all stems from the top. There is one thing positive. We're not the Huns. That's about it. Yeah, and then McLaughlin saying the title will come down to who can now win 12 games in a row from now on in. Robert Gibson's playing like genuine Nancy boys. Paul Galanti is, we need to get behind the team. A result on Wednesday against Dundee United is imperative. Yeah. Smell the glove. G'day, troopers. Has the 5-minute limit passed yet? You guys can go nuts in the comment as early as you want. It's just I can't read them out till 5 minutes has passed.
You fucking know it's passed, mate. Don't you worry about that. We're on board now. Let's go.
There you go. Even Shane's getting on it, dropping F-bombs and stuff. You know it's shit. Michael Ross, players still
I don't have the square jar next to me.
The fans. Yeah, so Paul's saying we need to spend wisely in January. I think last week I said we needed 2 first team starters. I think that's now officially up to 4 or 5 for my thing here. Fans got to stop giving these bastards cash. Yeah, 100%. Not another penny. I'll be honest with you. There's a couple of tops and jackets and things I want to buy, but it's not happening. So yeah, they're not getting nothing from me. Um, Smell the glass and too many scabs still going to the Celtic stores and buying food, etc. at the grounds. Adidas is where you hit. Adidas is where you hit these bar stewards. Hype is saying the manager seems to think the system is more important than playing to the players' strengths. Sounds like Brendan Rodgers, doesn't it?
It does. There's some similarities there.
Yep. The board have ground down the supporters and ultimately the team. And then Robert saying 1-0 after 2 minutes, and he states we started well. What's he talking about? Next thing you know, they're going to have a bonding swimming session up at Loch Lomond. Yeah, it's not ideal.
It's been rough. It's been a rough couple of weeks.
Paul Galante, the fans will vote with their feet. Yep. Smell the Glover saying the Celtic board are grinding down the support and the club like Thatcher did in the working class in the 80s. Where's Dan and Liam? They're in the naughty corner at the moment just so we don't get the channel taken down today. Nah, Liam might be on a bit later. We don't know yet. His internet issues. He gets on lookout. He can come straight in and let rip from the get-go. Robert gives a Nancy knows fuck all about football. And McLaughlin, yeah, I feel the same way. McLaughlin here. I can't even listen to the guy on one who usually gives everyone the benefit of the doubt. I've listened to Nuncy in like 3 little press conferences and stuff, and I'm just like, mate, I want him to do well and prove me wrong and make me look like an idiot. But sometimes you just got to say that's not it, and what he's saying isn't it half the time. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. McLaughlin's got it figured out. It's a stunt, so we accept Maloney in a couple of weeks. Fuck, I'd take Maloney now. And you go back 3 weeks on this pod, and I was saying, don't you appoint Maloney permanently.
Our times change.
A month's a long time in football, just like a week is. If they had any balls, they'd be like, see you later. Nicky Hayen, who just got the flick over at Club Brugge, he's available. Get him in. Get rid of the Mad Hatter wank bag in Tisdale. Fuck him off. And say, hey, and what do you got at Brugge? Put it in place here. And then you back him and stay out of the way. But certain people's egos won't let that happen. Robert Gibson, I would accept an ice addict as a manager just now. Yeah, so it's going to be a bit of an interesting one. There you go, Aussie 14.99. I go back to the preseason compared to the USA preseason. We were sharp and straight into stride. Yeah, last season we were up and about from day one. This is all over the place. So, yeah, not ideal. Just scrolling through, seeing what else we've got here. Ed Devlin saying new manager halfway through a season is never a good idea. Should have kept Martin O'Neill for a couple more months. It's not just that. It's not just that. Like Shane, sorry, I'll throw it over to you in a secchi, but we had Brendan. We did preseason with Brendan. Then Martin comes in. Then he goes out. You got the new guy coming in. How he's implementing his stuff is just like rip the band-aid off and friggin' have a crack here. It's the way it's all done. There's no structure, no patience, no planning.
Well, just to comment on that specific point from Ed, though, and it's something we actually mooted a few weeks ago when it was finally confirmed that Nancy was coming in and the game against Dundee would be Martin's last, and we realised the run of fixtures that was coming up for Nancy to try and implement what he wanted, and we were very much under the impression he was going to make some pretty big changes. He had Hearts, so top of the table league clash. a home tie against Roma in the Europa League, and then a cup final, and effectively a week to prep for the cup final. And we all kind of sort of wondered, well, how is this going to work at such short notice? And I think a lot of us, if not all of us, that were on that night, basically said, well, why not keep Martin until at least after the cup final? Now, what has Nancy actually gained from managing these 3 games instead of coming in after the cup final? I don't think he's gained a lot, and I think he's lost almost everything. He's gained very little insight into the players, in my opinion, nothing that couldn't have waited. But now he's offside with pretty much everybody. He's lost so much by this decision for him to come in at that time instead of Martin. You look at Martin continuing on in those 3 games, and let's just say we lose the cup final under Martin yesterday. That there's absolutely no pressure on Nancy when he comes in. And Martin wears that, and he's still the legend that he always was. But Nancy coming in, 3 losses on the bounce, including losing a cup, all of a sudden he's got a mountain that I don't think he can actually climb now. And for what? It was a terrible decision to bring him in at the point that he was brought in.
Yeah, as we said, Shane, it should have been get Martin through to the cup final, then do a clear handover now. So we have the cup final, and then we're into the Dundee United game. That's where you'd start him,
Yeah.
or you hold him, or he comes in, he's in the door, then in the background watching train and seeing what the players are about, have meetings with them, getting used to knowing who's who, and then you bring him in, get Martin through to the New Year derby, and then you bring him in after that even.
And so this is where I land on the sort of the criticism, because there's obviously a fair bit of debate. I'm obviously going on a little bit of a tangent about Nancy at the moment. There's a little bit of a debate in terms of where does that criticism, is it all Nancy? Is it all the board? I think for me, obviously, those who have appointed Nancy, right? He comes in, he's obviously gone through the process of, presenting to the board, putting his ideas forward, how he wants to play. That's been approved. They're obviously across his presentation. They're happy for him to take the team forward. So he's got that green light to come in and do what he wants, right? So, of course, those who are behind that decision, I think, need to have a bit more understanding of the potential impact there. So I think by and large, those who have actually employed him and appointed him at this time take the bulk of the responsibility of the criticism. But, the important thing is that Nancy isn't immune to criticism, right? So he's obviously come in. He's seen how we've played against Hearts. He's seen how we've played against Roma. There's an obvious deficiency there in the way of playing with this new system that's probably not going to be ready for a cup final. So the logical thing would be to kind of peel it back to what the players are familiar with and at least get that one on the board and then work your way from there, or try and introduce your changes a little bit more piecemeal. He hasn't done that. And if he thought that he could change this and bring this in and play in the manner in which they have, in such a short space of time, sorry, I've knocked the microphone, I'm that excited. He's very deluded. So I think by and large, those who've brought him in take the bulk of the criticism, and he is in a very unenviable position. And I do feel for him a little bit with that, but he also has to accept some criticism in what he's trying to set up and play with.
All right, I'm going to jump on a couple of things there, Shane, because, yeah, a couple of comments here which tie into what you said. So Ross is saying, unfortunately, the manager doesn't have the voice or shoulders to lift this team. Players don't like him. Within a week, there are players saying he's not got any presence. Sad, but he won't last long. And then RL77 is saying, Tisdale had to find a mediocre manager, otherwise he's shown up for his own lack of credentials for the job. Smell the guy saying Martin O'Neill's 6 weeks was totally wasted. So Michael Ross was saying, I backed Nancy but yesterday. Here's one for you, Shane. What's Kevin Muscat up to?
Well, he just won his second title at Shanghai, so 2 titles in a row, and they're still in the Champions League.
Stephen Ray's saying, I hear Columbus Crew are looking for a manager.
Oh, don't. Kevin will probably end up there.
Nah. So, all right. What I want to get at is what you were saying, right? So, and one of those things tied in. We always joke about, the nepotism at Celtic. You got Ross Desmond making a comment when he's not even on the board at the AGM. You've got Strachan and his laptop. You've got former people who aren't they talk about wanting to be world class in what we do, but then we bring in people who know the city, right? We don't have things, but we don't have the right people in place. It's more, oh, you know someone, and that's the issue. You said he would have presented to the board and got the job. Let's not forget that for some reason Tisdale was given point on this, right? The buy-in through that is Tisdale has a tie through the Ampadu family, coached his son. The assistant manager worked under Tisdale at Exeter City. Not the highest standards of football, is it? So the fact of the matter is that we're bringing in. Let's flip this back a little bit. Ronnie Dahlia, he left. We bring in the former Liverpool manager and someone with a great reputation at the time in Brendan Rodgers. He leaves. Neil Lennon comes in, stabilises, stayed too long. Then we bring in Ange Postecoglou, who's done it on multiple continents, a club and an international level. And what you were saying, and why I'm bringing Ange into this, Shane, is because you said about coming in this week and going to his formation. Ange, with his experience, look what he did with Spurs in the run into winning the Europa League last year. We all know Ange likes to press, he likes to be aggressive, but he actually tapered it and structured his defense and the way his team played to suit that knockout competition to go and win the trophy. What were we doing? What are we doing? You're playing against Roma in Europe. What are we doing trying to go toe to toe with them? You're playing against Hearts at home. I get it. You want to bring your formation. You've been in the door for 3 days. You've had 2 training sessions. There's no chance in hell you're going to get something, such a complex system across to the players ready to go. Then you have this cup final. And St Mirren have been a tough team for us to beat in recent years. And Stephen Robinson is probably the only other manager in the Scottish League that I actually rate and think has a really good career ahead of him. I've said previously, if there was the rules where you could only hire a manager from within Scotland, he'd be the only guy in Scotland I would give a second look at for a Celtic gig. I'm not saying he should be our manager, but he's the only guy within Scotland, in my opinion, other than that Motherwell bloke now, right? But he's the main guy I'd think of straight away. You know he's going to be tricky and he's going to have things sorted out, and we got caught out. So what's he doing? Like, it makes no sense. So I'm going to go on a little rant if I haven't already, Shane. So you get to sit there and enjoy a rant for once. I'm going to ask you this question. What the hell is going on at Celtic at the moment? And I've got a few points for you. Stevie Woods is apparently away. There's the Luke McCowan rumoured WhatsApp message, which I'll read through for those who haven't seen it, but I'm pretty sure everyone has. And then there's more rumours that other coaches have walked out after last night's cup final too. I don't know which ones they are, but it's toxic as fuck right now. And what I'm looking at is, what the hell is going on? We're in such a heavily managed decline. And heavy vibes, you're saying this. Lennon walking about town, rubbing his hands together, smiling. I see that, and I came prepared. And verbatim, knows the Scottish game, signs decent players, won trebles, done better than most previous managers in Europe, can beat St Mirren, Hearts, and the teams from Rome, doesn't care about trending complicated formations, and hates the Huns. They've got Neil Lennon ready to come in. And I'm like, I would rather use my ball bag as a speedball in a boxing session. I don't want him coming in, but fuck, we're in a tough spot. Had a bit of a rant there, Shane. Do you want to jump in on anything I said before I go on to some more?
I think you summed it up. It's a really toxic place at the moment, and that's permeating from the top down, right? That's permeating from the discontent with everyone that has a board level, and it's now at player level. And we've been commenting on players' performance throughout the season. By and large underperformed in 2025 calendar year wise, but this utter discontent, this almost complete not mutiny, that's not the right word, but that kind of visible and out loud frustration at what's going on, where you're talking about the WhatsApp messages and so forth, and coaches leaving and walking out. It's getting really bad. And it's clearly an environment that people don't feel like they want to be part of at the moment. They want to be away from that stress. They want to be away from all of this drama that's going on. And as fans, you can see that in the players. I've got to be honest with you, watching the players yesterday, we won't get into the game discussion just yet, but I looked at Hatate after he scored and it looked like he didn't want to be there. I looked at Liam Scales and he seemed completely bereft of confidence. There's traits and things that you can pick up just by watching the players on the pitch at the moment that seem to give you an impression of just how badly things are going behind the scenes, and it's terrible to see.
Well, I'm just going to bring up a comment here first. So McLaughlin's saying Nancy's making Dahlia look like Pep. So I just wanted to bring that up, saying a fair shout. But yeah, like what you're saying is the lack of confidence is absolutely crazy. Like, yeah, I'm going to go through that McCowan rumored thing, right? Just for a few talking points, right? So the actual quote post said, I was in the car with my daughter this afternoon when her husband phoned. His pal is a personal trainer, and one of her clients is Luke McCowan's best pal. He told him that the players are not happy with the new management setup. Luke said that the training is terrible and nobody's impressed by the new coaches. The manager took Yang, Tenekti, and Luke into his office and told all three of them that he did not see them as wingers, but they would be fullbacks. Luke told him quite bluntly that he is not a fullback but a midfield player. He said that if he was persistently playing him there, then he would need to find a new club in the January window. The other two weren't happy with the idea either. Significantly, Luke did not feature at all last night. He apparently then took Stevie Woods into his office, the manager, Nancy did, and told him he wasn't happy with his work. Woods has been there for God knows how long. It's ridiculous. Woods told him that if that was the case, he would resign. Then he then said that when McGregor heard about this, he went ballistic. McGregor phoned Nicholson and told him to sort this fucking mess out now. So the atmosphere around the place is venomous. So that's the WhatsApp message rumor, right? Now, a few things to unpack there. If Calmac's actually calling Nicholson to sort shit out, good. We need more of those leaders, right? But the thing for me looking at that is I thought that was a crock of shit, right? I'm like, we know Woods is leaving for whatever rumours. Great. But the fact of the matter is, when you're saying McCowan, you're thinking, oh yeah, it's rubbish. But then McCowan in the cup final goes on. And what position did he play, Shane?
He was a wingback or
There
fullback,
you
if you
go.
want to call it,
Makes you think maybe there's some truth to it.
which was a baffling decision for mine.
Yep, exactly. And then Robert Gibson's following up saying that's a shitload of specific info for a rumor. So how would you come up with it if it was a rumor and just make shit up? There you go. Smell the glove saying Scott Brown will be sacked by Air soon. Keeps losing big matches. Nice and cheap for the board. Yeah. So anyway, so we'll get back to what we're talking on. So that's what you've got there. And then other coaches are quitting. So we straight up with you, Shane. Did Celtic get it right with the appointment of Wilfred Nancy? And are you seeing anything to get excited about long term? Because I know in our group chat there's some people who are saying, oh, yeah, I can see that there's a 10, 15-minute burst where it looks like it could work and I can see what he's doing. But I'm not finding anything to get excited about. I think it just looks disorganised. But what's your thoughts?
No, right now, you can see little bits and pieces, but I'd be wanting to see more than that. And so on that basis, I'm not I'm not thinking that we've made the right decision. But I also think that and again, I'm sort of doubling back to my point from earlier. I also think that he has been given a very difficult position to try and come in and do this right. This all circles back to that who sort of has to take the bulk of the blame for this. Now, I remember being on the pod a few weeks ago before he came in when it was about to be announced that he was in. And I don't want to keep harping on about the guy and having a pop at him repeatedly, right? He's literally just in the door still. But it was obviously long rumored that he was effectively coming in. It was just basically paperwork that was being held up or was holding up the appointment and delaying it as much as it was. And I hadn't personally heard of him. And then I'd looked into his CV a bit. And for someone, and I remember saying this at the time, for someone who was basically been locked in to be the next Celtic gaffer, looking at his CV, it didn't obviously scream that to me at all. I looked at his CV and thought, that's okay. He might have something. I'm glad we're maybe trying something different. But I don't immediately look at that and go, yes, absolutely locked on candidate to be the manager of Celtic Football Club. So I was always a little bit surprised by that. And this kind of unfortunately ties into your point about Paul Tisdale and maybe the influence that he had in terms of getting Nancy on board. I there are moments where I see it, and you can sort of see in the first half a little bit the cup final, maybe how it could work, but the maybe is doing a heavy lifting there. And at no point have we ever looked assured at the back. And there's so many disjointed factors with the way that we're playing at the moment that it's hard to get excited because I just can't see where this turns. I just can't see this. I can't see this performance coming where, we had under Ange that first season where we lost and then we'd smashed Dundee 6-0. I can't see this happening. I see the players really struggling to continue to learn this and adapt to it. And let's not forget the players in this. Now, comment away all you think about their efforts. And granted, there's definitely a few on that pitch yesterday who I don't think put in anywhere near the required effort you want for a Celtic footballer. Anyone who wears the hoops, anyone who wears the hoops, not the hoots. So say what you will about that, but just remember they've been through a fair bit of tweaking this season as well. They've obviously had Brendan for most of the calendar year 2025 and then started this season. They moved to Martin O'Neill. Granted, it wasn't a significant shift, but Martin has obviously simplified things and changed a few things. And now, essentially, they've got to basically turn very quickly and now adapt to an entirely new system. It's very difficult to be in an environment that changes so frequently like that. And when you're at a club like Celtic, you aren't asked to win every week domestically. You're expected to win every week domestically. So there's pressure that comes with pulling on the hoops week in, week out in Scotland that we just don't accept this. And so they're obviously under pressure themselves going, I'm trying to adapt to a new system, but it's going to take time to adapt to this. And it all sort of circles back to trying to bring Nancy in now and crowbar him in at this point in time, which is arguably the worst 3-game stretch you could have done it, was just a recipe for disaster for him and the playing group.
Well, that's the thing, Shane. I'm having a look now because an ideal scenario would have been if we still had the winter break. It'd be you bring him in then he can have his winter break to go to some warm weather training with the team, get him used to everything, and then off you go. We play the Huns on New Year's game, then we have an 8-day break. That's our longest break between now and March, other than international breaks. So, I'm not writing Noncy off in terms of him as a manager. I haven't seen enough. I don't know what the plan is. But as Vinny's saying here, Wilfred is not the right manager with the players we currently have, playing players in the wrong positions and players being confused playing his system. So it's one of those where I just think I don't know who's going to be the one bringing the players in. I don't know what the go is for this squad coming forward because there's a lot of square pegs and round holes going on at the moment. But realistically, the Celtic players, some of them look to be shitting the bed in Nancy's system. There's a few players who obviously look confused by how they're being asked to play. Case in point, you see Engels with getting a notepad and drawing instead of that little chalkboard, whiteboard marker thing happening. And then you've got there's all sorts of notes and you listen to the post-match conferences and you got Scales saying, "Oh, yeah, it's gonna take time, blah, blah, blah," but you look at his face and he looks completely confused, and Trusty's the same deal, and so many others, they just look confused and out of sorts. So, I don't think they know how they need to play, so, yeah, just simple question, Shane, is it early days with this system and they just got to adjust and get used to it? Or does the team have a majorly soft underbelly and we need to replace a bunch of players?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I was going to actually point out that when we get to January, I fully expect Nancy, if he's still there, to basically say, "Look, I don't have the quality in the areas of the pitch I need to make this game plan work." Now, where have we heard that before?
Sounds like Brendan.
Well, this is the thing. We've gone through a couple of seasons of Brendan, and in particular when it got very volatile earlier this season, where Brendan was clearly unhappy with the lack of quality of players for what he wanted to achieve. And so, what have we done since then? We've since, obviously, save for the Martin O'Neill interim process, we've now appointed a manager who's put in a completely different system. Who is, I think, we're seeing that the players in this system, it's even more glaring that they don't have the quality to play this system than it ever was under Brendan. And I'm not walking back the criticisms I put forward of Brendan at the time, but it's almost laughable that we've ended up, it's not even full circle, it's beyond that. Like there is, I can't see how this playing group adjusts to this style of play. Right? This isn't Ange ball and just keep passing it forward and plan B is plan A better and keep the intensity up and going. There's a lot of intricacies, or at least what I see, a lot of intricacies that players are going to have to learn and adjust to on the run. And you've got, this is you talk about the point before with Tanetki, McCowan, and Yang being called in, and he says, "I think you're fullbacks." I've never looked at any of those three players and said, "I think they're fullbacks or wingbacks." So, can you see going into January and beyond that he's going to persist with any of those three at fullback or playing as wingbacks if he keeps this system? I'd highly doubt it.
Well, what we'll do, Shane, is we'll go through the squad because if there's going to have to be a bunch of replacing, we'll go through the squad and we're going to rate our players in four fields. Players who must be kept, right? Players who could come good in this system, players who you don't think they have much of a future at the club in this system, and players we need to sell straight away. They're the four things, right? The four tiers. Because honestly, I don't see the board sacking Nancy, even though I'm not liking what I'm seeing. Just on stubbornness alone, he'll be here till at least March, April. They'll probably give him this window and then the summer. Let's be honest. Or they'll get to the end of the season. And if they're going to make another change, they will then. But I look at it and go, there's going to be some change. There's going to have to be some change with the squad. So I'll get the squad up on my phone. I had it open before. And we'll just rate our team. Come on now, here we go. So they has to keep the player, no matter what, right? Must keep. Could come good in the system. Could come good. I don't think they have much of a future at the club, and so ones that we can look to loan out or sell, and then sell now. That's what we're going to split the lineup. So Casper,
I actually put him, like, I know he's getting old, but I put him in the top tier purely because of his leadership capabilities.
it's funny you say that because that's the issue I have at the moment. He looks like with Stevie Woods going and the new manager coming in, he's getting more and more aggressive, screaming at people all the time recently. So he looks rattled to me. I'm at the point where I would almost like to see Sinisalo given a run of games to see how he goes in this new system. Doesn't mean I want to sell Casper, but yeah, I just have some questions on him at the moment. Sinisalo is we must keep. That's
Yep.
our future goalkeeper. And Ross Doohan, got to keep him for homegrown quota, so he stays.
Yeah.
One player who's not going anywhere above all in this squad is Alistair Johnson because he's the only ally that the manager has in the locker room from before he came here. Simpson Pusey, I think he'll be back to Man City
Yeah,
in
there's
January.
he hasn't kicked on at all. I just can't see how he fits in here at all.
I can see how he fits in, Shane. The fact that we're playing left-sided centre back in Trusty at right centre back in a back three, right? Or we're playing the Bricky in that spot. That's where Pusey should be playing.
That's the thing. Should be. He hasn't
Yeah,
even made a match day squad yet.
exactly. So that's what I'm saying. He'll be off in January, so he can go. The guy who was the player of the season, in my opinion, up until a week and a half ago, Liam Scales.
Oh, it's not working for him at all in the system. Not working for him at all. Unless he plays at left wing back, I can't see how he stays on with this system.
Yeah, I'd the same. Trusty, I'd keep him.
Serviceable. Yeah, he's been serviceable.
I'll put him into that second tier, which is could come good in this system.
Yeah, I definitely think he's worth persisting with.
Carter Vickers, who knows how we'll go in this system, but he's not going anywhere.
Keep.
Inamura, bit of a doozy. I think he could come good in this system if he actually gets into the squad as a wingback. You saw him in the flesh that in when he played in Cork. How do you think that he would go in this system as a wingback?
Yeah, I think decent. I definitely think he's worth a shout, and I think it's a fresh opportunity for him as well. So I would definitely say he could. The problem is that for him to try and come good under the system, he's got to actually get and play, and that's where I'm stuck at the moment. Is similar to Simpson Pusey. Like when is he actually getting in a match day squad to even get the opportunity? Right? I'd like to see him get a chance. Put it that way.
Yep. Just looking at some of the comments here, we've got fuck off Casper. Casper can't do the basics anymore, looking like a busted flush. His shoulder's gone, his reactions are slower. Sinosalo for me. And then we've got a whole bunch of other people just throwing ones in there. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Next one we've got on the list, Srirachi. I would love us to turn it permanent. Him at left wing back. Perfect.
Yep, agreed.
Then we have Dane Murray. I think he could come good in this system, but again, he needs to get games. So I'd
Yep.
probably loan him out second half of the season. Colby Donovan.
Could come good. And he fitted in at right centre back when Ralston went off, and he's obviously played. And Peter Grant was saying he's played in that position for the Celtic youth team, so there's a little bit of experience in playing with a back three. So I think that that works in his favour.
Yep, 100%. The Bricky.
Solid, but I think it might be done.
I think he's getting to the point that Stephen Welsh has got to recently as well, where he's not good enough to be our first team regular, but he should be elsewhere playing regularly so that he can, figure it out. Ross is saying Srirachi, one of the few. Where'd that go? One of the few good signings, and one that Tisdale tried to block. What a riot this club is. Henrik McLaughlin, how many of us have written off the season entirely? Not yet, but if it's still like this the end of January, I'll probably be getting a little bit cranky.
Yeah, not yet, but like things have to change quickly. The cup final felt almost like a point of no return, and I feel bad saying that for someone who's literally just in the door and 3 games in, but there was something about our performance yesterday, and I'm seeing a lot of this repeated in the comments, that is very hard for us to look past and say there's a possibility we can turn this around in its current state.
Yeah. So Kieran Tierney.
Keep for me.
Yeah.
And I think he's probably been one of the few positives in the last 3 games as well. And he was again yesterday.
the thing with him, I don't know where he best suits this lineup. Like, does he suit better as a winger? Does he suit better? And then you can have Scales and Srirachi behind him. Does he work better as a wing back? Does he work better as a left of the back three? It gives us
Well,
multiple options. So yeah,
I would have said before anything, if you just given me the idea of us playing with a back three and two wing backs, that I would have immediately locked him in as a wing back. But the way that we're actually playing that left side, you've got Scales and Tierney. So Tierney, you've got your wing back and your left centre back, basically almost kind of being interchangeable. Like the amount of Scales was playing left centre back yesterday, the amount of times he's getting forward and actually putting a cross in and essentially overlapping, and Tierney's kind of underlapping inside a little bit. If you're going to get, and Tierney was doing the same when he was playing left centre back, if you're going to give him that freedom, then I think he's most effective as a left centre back.
yep. Then we get into the midfield. Nigrin,
No, not for me.
softer than a baby's shite. He can go.
He was struggling under Brendan and Martin, in all honesty. Like, he's had some good moments, but that consistent output was never there. He's always looked like he's running in concrete, and he's going to get exposed in a system that I think is it is like the one that Nancy's trying to implement.
Yep. So Luke McCowan.
Well, if he wants to play him as a fullback, no.
Yeah, exactly. If he wants that, he can go. If he wants to keep him in the midfield, I thought he was one of our better midfielders under Martin. That's the weird thing. He was coming into it, simplified the game and get him out there playing, but yeah, no good. Arnie Engels. That's a
Okay,
guy who actually played as a wing back the majority of his youth career. So if he's looking at McCowan trying to play him as a wing back, why aren't you looking at Engels, you moron? Yeah, I called him a moron for that reason. Paolo Bernardo, he'll be gone. What's the
yeah,
point of having him?
no, he's just hanging on now.
He's barely kicked the ball in anger for us in the last 12 months. Rio Hatade, I think he'll come good in this system if he stays.
I'm going the other way, and I love Rio, but I don't like what I'm seeing from him. I think he could work in the system. So I'll give you two answers to this. Could he work in this system? Yes. Will he work in this system with how he is feeling at the moment? I don't think so. I haven't liked his output, and I really didn't like his output yesterday from a defensive point of view. He was really poor. He scored a great goal, but there were a couple of moments here and there, but overall he was lackluster, and he just doesn't look happy.
Yep. I just went that way so we're not agreeing on everything. Kelmac, yeah,
Keep. You have to keep.
he has to stay. Then we get into the forwards. Jota. It's like a new signing.
Yep, absolutely keep.
Had to say it like that. Balikwisha.
Nah, gone. No way.
I'm gonna skip ahead to Nekti.
No, it's not working.
As I said in our group chat, silver lining, they're off to AFCON soon. We won't have him with us for a month. Get rid.
I've been so disappointed with Tanetki, and in particular these 3 weeks. I haven't seen anything from him in Nancy's system that makes me think he's going to work as a fullback.
It
Or
makes me
wing back,
think
if you want to call him that.
the only reason he's playing guaranteed to Nekti is because there's a Tisdale signing and he's basically big upping him to the new gaffer saying, you've got to play him because he's my big money signing from the summer.
Maybe, but he hasn't shown anything. And I found it really galling yesterday that with Tierney moving up to left wing back, that instead of Tanetki losing his spot, he was moved over to the right, and Yang had lost his spot, who I think up until that point had been serviceable as a right wing back. Definitely by comparison to Netke on the left, who'd been awful. So that was really disappointing. And again, he offered very little yesterday.
Yang in this system is at least giving us a bit of dig.
Yep.
I still think that he's not of the required standard for us long term, but at least he's having a crack, so I would keep him in January.
Yeah, agreed.
Iheanacho,
Oh,
the only striker we have, Shane, that actually can hold up play and play others in and then also beat a man.
yep. Absolutely keep.
So he is a
Just
keep.
wish his body would keep up and keep him on the pitch. But he was the only bright spot really yesterday, to be honest with you, and it all fell apart when he went off.
Kev166 is saying Tenecti is as useful as a chocolate fire guard. Shin Yamada. Apparently, rumours are he's going back on loan into a J League club. That's apparently a Kyogo replacement, but we haven't seen shit there. Callum Osmond, I think he's out the rest of the season, but I'll definitely keep him.
Agreed.
Johnny Kenny. Someone in the comments earlier said play Scales at striker and play Johnny Kenny at centre half. And I was like, yeah,
Why not?
if Nancy did that on his team list, I would actually be like, man, it doesn't surprise me with this guy at the moment.
And you know what's interesting? Like the shift, and I only saw yesterday, right? Under Nancy with Kenny, right? But obviously under Martin and the moments he had under Martin, which were really positive. Now we go into Nancy's system, and he looked all at sea yesterday. And this, I think, can tie in sort of the way the players are adjusting to that as well, right? And adjusting to his system and the way that he wants to play in his instructions, because he barely kicked the ball yesterday. And he and Maeda could not work at all together. Nobody knew where to run. They didn't know they didn't know when to drop in. They were too far separated at times, so they couldn't work together. It was just really frustrating to watch.
Yeah. The old Kenrick Larson under Martin, and then you've got him looking like someone who's basically forgot how to tie his laces up on his boots. Not ideal. Days and Maeda, I still think he'll want to move. I'd love to keep him though.
Well, stop. Again, he's in this system. Where does he fit though? Unless he's leading, if he's not leading the line, and we're not playing fast enough to actually play to his strengths in this system, and if he's not playing as a wing back, how does he fit in? He was effectively playing as some sort of high number 10 yesterday. That's not his go at all.
Yeah. It's like, as Ross is saying here about Kenny, fine for a team who are going to get lots of space in behind. We are not that team. So, and it's the same with Maeda. It's going to sound weird. A role he's played for Japan a few times is as a wing back.
Well,
I'd rather
I don't
not.
understand why he wouldn't, to be honest with you.
Yeah, with his work rate and everything, but he's not going to want to do that. So yeah, it's the way I look at it is it's no good. Jamesy Forrest, we keep him because he's one of our own and he's a star.
Yeah.
Then the guys on loan, I'm not even going to go into any of them who could work in this system other than Lewis Palmer. That's for you, Robert Gibson. But yeah, so realistically, going through that, there's probably a good 10 players there that out of 24 or something that we want the fuck out of the club. But then if we do that, do you trust Paul Tisdale to sort it all out and bring in sufficient quality that suits the manager's system? I don't. I
No,
think he's
I
an
don't.
absolute used car salesman.
Well, but even then, I don't back the board to stump up the money that's needed to bring in the quality either, right? It would be, let's just play devil's advocate here. Let's just say they do. Let's just say they throw the checkbook open and they do allow big spending in this transfer window. How much of a slap in the face is that going to be to Rodgers?
Yeah, I know. The thing is, Shane, I don't even think it's about a big spending. Okay, I said maybe 2 or 3 last week of that 6 to £8 million player. Okay, that's great, but that's not big. That's the equivalent of an old, £4 million player a decade ago. So it's not crazy big spending. The difference is, right, if Maida leaves, Hatate leaves, we're going to get, 8 figures for each of them. That pretty much offsets what the club's going to spend anyway. Every window they want to end in a net positive. So if we bring in 20 mil, for instance, for those two, and then we manage to go and spend 5 million on 4 first team starters, will that improve our team? Yeah. Then if we sell a few more fringe players around the mix there, next thing you know, if you can get rid of Tanekti and Balakwisha and get your money back for them somehow, there's another 10 million to play with. There's 30 million. There you go. There's 6 players. We could actually do that. But, do I think it's going to happen? Nope.
I'm not even sure we'd get rid of the players that we've earmarked, even half of them that we've earmarked that probably won't work in the system, to be honest with you.
Henrik McLaughlin saying throwing the checkbook open gets you Tanekti and Balakwisha, Engels and Trusty. It's not what's been spent, it's who's spending it. Case in point, look at Hearts. They've got that system from Tony Bloom, and they're actually going and recruiting players and spending £1, £2, £3 million on some players. But every player comes in is for a certain system to play a certain way and has certain upsides and ticks certain box analytically. What are we doing? Just get the old Rolodex out in someone's little black book and see who you know? Or jump on, FIFA 2000 and have a look at what players were the Wonder Boys back then and try and sign them? Yeah, bit of a shit show, really. So, yeah. I think the easiest thing, Shane, is we haven't even spoken about the game. So I'll just let you give us a quick rundown on the game overall, and then we'll finish it off with that, with like man of the match, or something that was mentioned in our group chat, donkey of the day, so worst player for us.
I'll keep it brief because no one wants to rehash. I'm sure everyone in the comments probably saw it and they don't want to relive it. But, they were 1-0 up before we'd even barely kicked the ball, to be honest with you. Really poor goal conceded from a corner. We settled a little bit. They easily could have gone 2-0 up and been out of sight, but we did settle a little bit. And to be fair, with Iheanacho working hard up top and being a focal point, we did at least look like we had something about us at different points, and it all stemmed from the ability to work down the left and get balls into the box and a bit of repeated pressure, and obviously that led to the Hatate goal, which in all seriousness was a really pretty decent finish. He had to stretch for that and did really well. I think you could argue that if we didn't have the ascendancy by half time, it was at least even. But in the second half, that didn't continue on. And most certainly, a lot of the factor to that was the Iheanacho going off midway through the first half. We never really adjusted to that. Kenny and Maida didn't work. The system broke down. And from there, they never looked really troubled. Even when we were pressing for that second goal, even after they'd scored, they never really looked troubled. We never really put them under pressure. They obviously score the second, which is a nice little ball from Gogic over the top, and Casper's caught in no man's land. And then obviously the third one was a break in play where we pushed numbers forward. It gets out the back. Donovan's lost track of John. There's a couple of players that put in really poor efforts trying to track back to get to Ayunga, who makes himself a bail in the box. And at that point, 3-1, you knew it was over. We weren't coming back from that. And that was it. So, really disappointing performance. There might have been a 20-minute spell where you could argue we were the better team, but outside of that, they never looked troubled by us, and we never looked to trouble them.
Fair enough. My summary of the game pretty much sums up what Smell the Glove's written here. The game, it was shite. End of game summary. And then we've got Stephen McMonagle. The ball is the ball. It's easy. And Nancy halftime talk sent us backwards. Kev1 is saying, I have to be honest, watching Celtic yesterday was like watching a good pub team play bad. And McLaughlin saying, I can see a Commons Dahlia incident next with McGregor and Nuncy. Yeah, see what they come up with in the media next. But yeah, so man of the match, Shane, you got one? Or are you going to go donkey of the day?
Oh, look, if you're going to go man of the match, probably the brace for Younger. But then Nalundalu, was it Nalundalu? Apologies if I'm getting that wrong. He was causing Scales all sorts of troubles. Like they did, I thought they did a really good job up top of putting our centre halves under pressure. They obviously, pinpointed that as a weak point, and they really preyed upon it. So either of those, I'd say man of the match. To be honest, I don't think anyone on the Celtic side could even hold a candle to man of the match honours across the pitch. If
Can
you're
I give
asking,
donkey of the day?
yeah, please go for it.
So, donkey of the day. Saw the clip of it afterwards and I was like, that is fucking funny. Do you see the video of KT when he's about to come off? He's getting called over the sideline. He's about to be subbed off. The board's going up. And Nancy grabs his hand and starts trying to give him tactical stuff and talk to him. And then Stevie Wood's got to say, he's coming off. And then Stevie Woods gets looked at like, Nancy looks at Woods like, what the fuck? And then all of a sudden the board goes up and he's like, he keeps talking to him for a bit and then finally gives up. I just thought that was pretty fucking weird.
That whole scenario was just bizarre. Like, that was when McCowan was coming on, then they weren't letting McCowan on, then they were holding McCowan back, then they put the number up for Tierney, then they took it down. And it was like, what's actually going on here? Who's coming off? Who's going on? It's not that hard, guys. And I know there was obviously some questions about Ralston being down, but fucking hell, that was a shambles, that whole substitution. That was embarrassing.
Yep. So I'll bring up this one here from Kev One. Congrats, St. Mirren. At least you're a squad. Yeah, that's one thing that was going to be my final thought. Like, congrats to them on winning a trophy. That they deserved it. They've been consistent the last few years. But Kev's also saying donkey of the day has to be Casper. Ross is saying a few media folks who are known for links to Celtic are now saying that there's some truth within the leaked message. Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one. Shane, we got on Wednesday. We're playing Dundee United. Head into the game. Real simple. Key areas. Key thing I want to see is some consistency. I want to see our players improve how they perform. Because we all know Nuncy thinks it's all about the performance, not the results. So let's get him his performance and let's get us a result.
Yeah, I'm similar to you. I want to see the system start to work.
I-
You can't
It's not
continue with it.
it's not that I want to see the system work, Shane. It's I want to actually understand the system. That's the thing for me. If I can start to see what the players are doing, I know we have enough talent that will score goals. But it's once I can see what we're actually trying to do and see it come together, then I'm like, okay, cool. I get it. I can get on board. But yeah, I think we're gonna win we'll win 2-1.
I'll extend my answer and say that what I also want to see, which should be the bare minimum, is I want to see any player that walks out onto that pitch in the green and white hoops give absolutely 100%, 110%, and get stuck in like they should do each and every week when they play for this great club. That being said, I'm going to be ultra negative, and I think they hold us to a 0-0 draw.
There you go. Robert's saying we're getting fucked by the Tay-siders. Ross is saying, and Roger's about to sign up to a gig in the Saudi. Pork Chop Express is saying, read yesterday someone punched Tisdale. Any truth in that? I've heard the same, but I haven't got any confirmation on that. But yeah, well, I'm not going to get into that. Yeah, so we'll go to a final thought. Shane, you got one?
I'm just going to keep it simple. I know it's a bit tough at the moment, gang, and yeah, I'm sure we don't come on and enjoy sort of going through this. Maybe some of you find it cathartic. I know we find it a little bit cathartic talking about it, but look, as much as it's quite dark now, things can definitely change. And whilst I'm frustrated with where things are at, I'm certainly not writing Nancy off just yet, and I want to see it work. I really do. So all I'm just going to say is keep the faith.
Sweet. My final thought is pretty simple. Paul John Dykes over an Axon. Happy birthday, mate. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Hail, hail.
How?